Sometimes, not many times, but sometimes Thursday Night Football is really good. Sometimes it's the Texans and the Jets. And the Texans sans Stephon Diggs now, Sigmund. This is
Yeah.
going to complicate things in terms of the target structure for the Texans' assets. We'll get to the Jets' disaster. Sorry, Chase Stewart on the flip side. But let's start talking Texans, part one of the Week 9 preview.
Yeah, struggle. This game is going to be struggle. Texans offense maybe a little bit more of a struggle without Stephon Diggs. And as a quick footnote, the Texans, it wasn't that noted when it happened. When they acquired Stephon Diggs, they voided the last 3 years of his deal, making him a free agent in 2025. They did move up $3.25 million guaranteed for next year to this year. So that's the footnote that you feel for the Texans and their Super Bowl hopes, but you feel for Stephon Diggs and this one now going into free agency with the torn ACL. The Texans are going to go in with Tank Dell as their number one receiver, so you gotta play him. But really, I think looking more forward for fantasy, how many targets can Nico Collins get? We will find out.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have the supporting cast. And hey, for a team to have two wide receivers out of the top three, the Texans have now healthy Robert Woods, Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie. So while none of these are fantasy plays, it can keep the offense on schedule. Dalton Schultz, Cade Stover, there's a dynasty stash for you in your tight end premium leagues. But it's going to be about Joe Mixon. Damian Pierce a little banged up. It's a Joe Mixon offense. And this defense, multiple turnovers and multiple sacks each of the last 3 weeks. So they don't need to stick their neck out on offense. Now they've got control of the division with that win over the Colts last week. And the Jets, they have control over their destiny in a way, Cease, but I don't think it was where they wanted to be going.
Yeah, and just did a quick double check. Nico Collins eligible to return in week 10.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, next week. So here we go. Jets side of things, like just run the ball, I guess. Use more Braylon Allen, I guess, and limit Aaron Rodgers. Hell, he's limited all week anyway with a hamstring and a knee injury.
Right.
So more bad Aaron Rodgers football, likely. And then, he's banged up and a million years old.
Yeah. Cease, what's the saying? You made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. Well,
Yeah, now you have to lie in it.
yeah, they want to sleep. Maybe that was a Freudian slip there. You just want to go to sleep and wake up and the season's over. Just
Yeah.
end the season, right?
Yeah.
JPS. Because this team's fate has become Aaron Rodgers' fate. And how do you wrest control of the offense away from Aaron Rodgers when it's an Aaron Rodgers team and you gave Aaron Rodgers control? Again, tough defense. You play the Texans defense this week. And yeah, Garrett Wilson, he is the number one receiver. He is the downfield threat. Devontae Adams. I don't think we're going to see Alan Lazard if he was out last week. I'm going doubtful going into the game. Then on a short week, I don't think we'll see him. So enough targets there for Devontae Adams. And then Tyler Conklin. You might play Tyler Conklin, although this is so fascinating with National Tight End Day being the cherry on the sundae that really pushed it over the top. See, his first 3-4 weeks, we're like, you can't even find a tight end. If he can catch 3 passes in a game, that's a tight end you want to play. Tyler Conklin's actually caught touchdowns back-to-back weeks. You could probably do better than Tyler Conklin, right? Tyler Conklin making his catches. And then we're going to watch this Breece Hall, Braylon Allen split because Todd Downing calling the plays. And at first it looked like, Breece Hall is going to be the running back you thought you were getting in the top 5, going to get 85, 90, 95% of the snaps and touches. But then last week, 12 carries for Braylon Allen. The rushing touchdown for Braylon Allen. Breece Hall, only 1 catch. Not to play Braylon Allen, but to say for Breece Hall, you're playing him, but you're lowering expectations.
All right. Lowered expectations abound for Cowboys. They're going up against the Falcons this time. Let's talk about the visiting team first. That is Dallas. And I don't know, why is anyone relying on the ground game? I don't care if Zeke got in the end zone. I don't care if Dalvin Cook's active, back on the practice squad now. I don't care if Rico Dowdle's inactive. I mean, I'm not relying on any of those three. You're relying on CeeDee Lamb and littering. And by the way, Dak Prescott's rushing yards lowered this year because Jerry told him not to run, to stay healthy.
Right. It's just a carryover from the Aaron Rodgers story, right? And Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy connected. Where did you think it was going to end up with Mike McCarthy? This is where it was going to end up. Maybe for a few moments here and there, maybe it might know this is where it was always going to end up. Now, CeeDee Lamb did have the big game out of the bye. Remember last year, out of the bye, Schottenheimer and McCarthy made this an incredible pass offense that helped people win fantasy championships. And for a second, made it look like maybe the Cowboys were going to transcend the McCarthy era. Now, the trajectory's down, unless you got CeeDee Lamb. And like you said, Cease, with Dak Prescott, the rushing upside's not there. The passing upside is not that exciting. You still are going to play Jake Ferguson, but we're not as excited for an ancillary piece like Jalen Tolbert. And then this whole thing with Rico Dowdle is so sick. He's inactive, but he's signing autographs. Dalvin Cook's up, but he still looks like a player in the 18th hole of his career, and as does Ezekiel Elliott. Like you said, Cease, they're just showing us you don't need to play any of these running backs. And by the way, yeah, this team is really, really missing Dan Quinn, and I think you're going to see that when the Falcons have the ball.
Yeah, on the Falcons side, how can Kirk Cousins throw 4 touchdowns and then Drake London doesn't do hardly anything? Well, it's because Kyle Pitts does more. It's because Darnell Mooney does more. Tyler Algier actually had double-digit carries,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, okay, there's a healthier workload, needs more yards per carry. Bijan Robinson with over 100 total yards. So we know the names, we know the games. And how do you want to attack the Cowboys? Any way you like.
Yeah, exactly. Dan Quinn, without Dan Quinn, this defense is very vulnerable. So you just hope that Cousins, you're going to play Cousins, London, err on the side of playing Darnell Mooney. You see that upside a couple of times now. Of course, you're playing Kyle Pitts, who's not going to celebrate prematurely, and he gets to the end zone. And you just hope that they get all their points before this game gets out of hand. Or maybe Dak Prescott has a heroic game and keeps the Cowboys trading punches with this Falcons offense. Falcons class of the NFC South, by the way. For the Falcons, after sweeping Tampa, now the focus becomes, well, how far can this team get? When you see redemption for Dan Quinn, still haven't seen redemption for Kyle Shanahan yet. But harkening back to, I'm wearing my Pelicans jersey, so we're going to talk about 28-3. That looms over everything. And this Falcons team, maybe the best team since that team, and you should be able to treat this game as a tune-up, certainly for Bijan Robinson, and then Tyler Algier, who did struggle, even though he got a pretty good workload last week. What the heck flex as Atlanta? If they're a good team, this game should not be a problem.
Okay, next up is Miami and Buffalo, and not as powerful or as interesting as we used to think this matchup would be, but Miami's out there, and you wonder how many teams would be calling for like a Raheem Mostert, right? The ODB thing didn't work for them, that's for sure, because, well, just go to Jonnu Smith more. Jalen Waddle seems frustrated, but go to him more. Keep going to Tyreek Hill, sure. And then that trio of running backs that they have to utilize to help Tua Tagovailoa. How will the Dolphins work against the Bills this weekend?
Yeah, kind of stings losing that game up 9 in the fourth quarter to Arizona. And at least you will see a team or two probably back into the playoffs. It's the team that started slow. Maybe Miami can be that team, although not exactly a team that closes well in cold weather. Don't know how cold it's going to be in Buffalo, but Buffalo is a tough matchup for Miami. Always is a tough matchup for Miami. And the running game is online just in time for this. So Devin Achane, watch the practice reports. He did limp off after one play last week. Should be okay. Raheem Mostert, goal line back. So a what the heck flex. Jalen Wright, a bench stash. Probably going to be talking about him eventually with the injury history of Achane and Mostert. Tyreek Hill, you're going to play, but Buffalo always does a good job against Tyreek Hill. Remember, the first matchup this year was when Tua Tagovailoa went down. So it could be a Jalen Waddle game, could be a Jonnu Smith game. Although, again, Jonnu Smith and 4 catches. Oh, you can do better than that at tight end now. Well, maybe in this game they need Jonnu Smith to play a bigger role because Buffalo does a good job. Sean McDermott, we will give him credit for his defense and ability to take away what you do well. One of those things was Tyreek Hill, but also the running game. So even though Tua being back revives the season for Miami, this should be a game where the Dolphins aim to run the ball 35 or 40 times.
Yeah. And Buffalo, what are you going to do? Now, I still appreciate Ray Davis, but James Cook, it's the James Cook show. And the Keon Coleman show, dash of Keon Coleman. When's it going to be the Mari Cooper show, right? Khalil Shakir coming through, not letting his fantasy GMs down whatsoever. A dash of Dalton Kincaid there as well for Josh Allen and company. Again, expect a lot of James Cook, and still, I don't think it's time to shut him down on Ray Davis, but let's talk about it, Bloom.
You're not shutting him down because we know he can play, and he's a James Cook injury away. And James Cook, and this is a theme for the Bills this year because a couple of weeks ago, remember, on a Monday night, James Cook is surprise and active. Ray Davis, this great game. What's James Cook going to amount to this year? Inefficient when he comes back, but then more than efficient, explosive last week in Seattle. And we're not benching him for the rest of the year because you see that upside more than once. And, since we've talked about or at least alluded to Josh Allen and teams taking on the personality of their quarterback. But I think it means something that for a couple of weeks, remember, Baltimore absolutely thumped the Bills. This is one of the measuring, yardstick games in the AFC, and Baltimore just destroyed the Bills. And here's Josh Allen getting thumped, and then they go to Houston, and Houston again. Josh Allen had an Anthony Richardson stat line against the Texans. Red alert! Bills are back on track, and the Amari Cooper trade helped. But let's give credit where credit is due, and you have to say some of this is Josh Allen and his personality. And it's perfect for Buffalo, really. That no matter what setbacks there are, no matter how dark it looks for this team, they're back on track. And this should be a game that they stay on track. This is a team that they have had a really good track record against. Khalil Shakir, the new Amon-Ra St. Brown. And what I mean by that is he's going to find a way to get open. He's going to find a way to catch the ball. He's going to find a way to make hay after the catch. He's going to find a way to be in your lineup. And Keon Coleman, and I'm going to say, I'm taking it all back. Because now when the Bills trade down and they end up with Keon Coleman, I get it. Because if you have someone who wins on contested catches, what kind of quarterback is going to take advantage of that? A quarterback like Josh
Allen.
Yeah, a quarterback like Josh Allen. And you can really see Keon Coleman blossoming. And I'll say also, it's really fun that we can talk about this because Keon Coleman seems like a genuine good dude.
He was one of my favorite guys to talk to at the combine. He is Mr. Personality.
Yeah. And not in a look at me peacock
No.
kind of showy way, but
No.
he's just a dude. He's just a dude. Like he could put him in the third window here and he could like hang out with us and talk football or movies or whatever, So Keon Coleman in your lineup. Amari Cooper maybe in your lineup. His snap count's going up, but maybe this is one of those situations where the Amari Cooper acquisition is better for everybody else, including Dalton Kincaid. And Dalton Kincaid scored last week. Dalton Kincaid's had 3 decent weeks in a row. It's hard when you have so many weapons for him to have. This is like Sam Laporta's problem in Detroit, but you are seeing Josh Allen put those 300-yard passing games up. So one of these days, Dalton Kincaid could have that big game to put you over the top. Maybe this week.
Yeah. Our buddy Jason, or Pot Stoner Degenerate, would say, we could hang out with Keon Coleman Bong Rip. Sorry, Joe.
Water
This
pipe.
this one can be a little, it's Colorado. This one could be a little shorter because it's the Raiders and the Bengals. Bengals side has some stuff to talk about. The Raiders side is just like, okay, Brock Bowers. I mean, we didn't talk about DJ Turner on the waiver wire show. Was half a percenter or whatever. It's like, hey, this is just a trouble spot for the Raiders as they slog through the rest of the season. Now traveling to face Cincinnati.
What does it see? What Dory says, just keep swimming. For the Raiders, it just keep losing. Maybe you get a quarterback. Maybe. I mean, they have Brock Bowers. They have Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers, you might not have more than 8 or 9 yards a catch, but he's going to have a lot of catches. Gardner Minshew being out there should be good for catchable targets, should be good for PPR leagues. Alexander Madison had 2 carries in the same drive where he was tackled at the 1. So maybe against a softer Bengals defense, much softer than the Chiefs defense. And the Raiders were competitive against the Chiefs, more competitive than we would have expected. Maybe Alexander Madison's at least a what the heck flex. He remains involved in the passing game. But yeah, this Raiders team, remember when he beat the Ravens? That might keep them from getting their quarterback.
Yeah, let's go Shedeur Sanders because Travis Hunter should be the first overall pick. Anyway, Bengals side of things, Joey B, Jamar Chase. Running back thing is always a little back and forth. Will Chase will get a touchdown, but not do much. And then Moss won't do much, but then he might do something. And then we're watching there. And T. Higgins considered, I believe, day-to-day, Bloom. Correct me if I'm wrong. So if it's no Higgins, it's not more Josephus or anyone else not named Jamar Chase. It's just more Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to see if Higgins is out there. If Higgins isn't out there, even though this is a great matchup, you're probably not going to play Joe Burrow. Only 2 teams on bye this week. 1 good fantasy quarterback. Russell Wilson's not a great fantasy quarterback. Brock Purdy running is. So Joe Burrow, not an automatic start. If T. Higgins isn't out there, at least last week, Mike Gesicki was the guy. But maybe it's Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Certainly Chase Brown has to be in your lineup this week. Anytime you think there's going to be a winning game script for the Bengals. And the Bengals have to win this game. They have to win this game. And I think, balance on offense. Chase Brown may be a breakout game. And of course, Jamar Chase. And, I think about this game and I just think poor Joe Burrow. Poor Joe Burrow, because first it was, the Bengals franchise, but Joe Burrow elevated them within a play of winning the Super Bowl. But eventually the franchise is going to bring down the player and maybe just luck. And this was supposed to be the Super Bowl window. They keep T. Higgins around for one more year for this year. Trey Hendrickson,
Yep.
one more year this year.
Yep.
Now you got to beat the Raiders to keep your pulse, your playoff pulse going. Ugh.
Ugh, indeed. 4 games down, 4 games to go. Part one of the Week 9 preview here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom. Chargers and Browns. Browns more interesting. And Chargers, it's same as it ever was, right? Let's break that out. Same as it ever was,
Mm-hmm,
Bloom,
mm-hmm.
because even if he doesn't get a lot of yards, they're going to give J.K. Dobbins a huge workload. That'll continue. Lad McConkey with a couple of touchdowns last time out. What to expect this week? A dash of Josh Palmer who can make big plays happen. That's what we're looking for with the Quentin Johnson. Now, Quentin Johnson, we're looking to see if he'll
Right.
be ready from the ankle injury. Of course, inactive in week 8. What about week 9? How does that change things against the Browns? Well, we're fixing to find out.
Yeah, Justin Herbert unleashed as a passer. And let's revisit all that talk. Well, poor Justin Herbert, he's not going to get to pass. All Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman are going to do is run the ball, run the ball. No, they've got some moves. They've got some counter punches. And Justin Herbert as a passer unleashes Lad McConkey and Joshua Palmer as what that flex. This Cleveland defense is a pass funnel defense. And what that means is they're so good against the run that you should pass against them. When you have Justin Herbert, you should be passing also. Oh my God, they have to take a wide receiver. They got that guy, Lad McConkey. And maybe Will Dissly, again, catching 4 or 5 balls. That's not exactly moving the needle at tight end coming off of National Tight End Day. You are going to play J.K. Dobbins, but you have lower expectations because of that Browns run defense. And this, again, this is that team. Everyone's catching on, sees. This is the team no one's going to want to face in the first round of the playoffs. And if you are that team, you should be able to go and face a Cleveland team that, at least coming off of that Ravens win, maybe they're getting some ideas after they have a quarterback that gives them hope. So can the Chargers extinguish that? Or do the Browns say, no, maybe we're the surprise playoff team that nobody wants to face?
Why did they announce Jameis as the starter?
Right.
Like, he's the starter. He's
Right.
amazing, everybody. He's a national treasure. And so is Nick Chubb. Now, again, Nick Chubb, much like a J.K. Dobbins and much better than J.K., no offense, but it's like he's going to get 17 to 22 carries. We'll see how the outing is. Last time
Right.
out wasn't much, but the workload is going to be there. And then look at these wide receivers that Jameis
Yeah.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden makes
Yeah.
very, very relevant. Of course, plenty of David Njoku as well. Like, all right, Chargers, you've got some weapons. Well, so does Cleveland with Jameis throwing the ball.
Yeah, these two defenses are good, but these offenses are balanced, and these offenses are going to give the defenses a lot to think about with aggressive passers. And Jameis Winston, a leader, and someone who's really going to make this team show what they can do. You're going to play Cedric Tillman for sure as that number 1 receiver, although he does have some tough matchups in terms of number 1 corners after this week. We'll see. I mean, this is going to be a game. Was it just Baltimore being without their top 2 defensive backs and otherwise just having so many problems on
Right.
defense defending the pass? And again, Baltimore, another pass funnel defense like Cleveland. Chargers not quite a pass funnel defense, but I think you want to test them through the air. So maybe it's Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore's what the heck flex is definitely David Njoku. And he's really realizing, way back when in the analytics era, when they took David Njoku in the first round, it was all about how young he was and how athletic he was and what he could be if he could hit a ceiling. Guess what? He's hitting his ceiling. And in
Yeah.
fantasy, he is a tight end who's moving the needle, and then moving the needle, moving everything, Nick Chubb. And as Jameis Winston loosens up these defenses, that's when you get the Nick Chubb counterpunch. Remember, Nick Chubb knocking off the rust here. So I think this is going to be the best we've seen so far of Nick Chubb. And yeah, this game, see, a month ago, I'd say Chargers, Browns. I don't know about that. This is going to be a fun game to watch.
Oh, and playoff implications abound for both of those squads. Not so much in the next game. New England Patriots versus Tennessee Titans. So we're
Yeah.
waiting to see if Drake May can get through the concussion protocol, and how much does that change if it is Jacoby Brissett once again in this matchup against Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh my. This is one of those almost both teams at once kind of game. Cease,
If you
top
want
5.
to, because we're still waiting on the shoulder for Will Levis, Brian
Well, that's the
Callahan
whole
saying we'll
thing.
see.
We don't
What?
even know. We don't even know who's going to start at quarterback for either team
Throw
in
them
this.
together then, baby.
Right,
Throw them
right.
together.
Well, and Ramondre Stevenson's back, and the team revealing it was like some personal stuff and this ball security. Well, the 2 touchdowns, the 2-point conversion last week, they're trusting him. You're trusting him. I mean, I guess if Drake May is back, you're thinking about Hunter Henry, you're thinking about Demario Douglas, Jacoby Brissett, not as much, but Jacoby Brissett had that great comeback. Probably, again, they have their quarterback. Levis or Rudolph. If it's Rudolph, you feel a little better about Ridley. Is Tajay Sears back? You're probably going to play Tony Pollard anyway because it's going to be a close game. But really, why I want to do both teams at once, because you're there, you're in Colorado, okay? Because I'm looking at the projected draft order. We're pulling over to a side because you brought up the Travis Hunter thing, right? Because the idea is like this is gonna be like an Eli Manning thing, right? They're gonna be like, because I'm looking.
Shadur's only going to certain spots. He will not go to
Okay,
Carolina.
okay. So and then number 2 right now, Tennessee. Is he gonna
No.
go to
No,
number?
God, no.
Okay, number 3, New England's not gonna draft a quarterback. So maybe
No, they should draft Travis Hunter.
So maybe that's where Travis Hunter's gonna go. And Travis Hunter with Jared Mayo, okay. I think.
And by the way, I think he could do both. I think he could be a Pro Bowler receiver and a Pro Bowler corner.
Right. Although, is New England going to keep winning games and take themselves out of the Travis Hunter derby?
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
Number 4 team in the draft order right now. And notice all these teams except for New England need quarterbacks. The Jets. Is Sanders going to go to the Jets?
That would depend on the coaching staff.
Right. Jacksonville.
Dion
they
will
need a
have
quarterback.
a say
New Orleans?
in where Shador plays. So, yeah. There you go. We just don't yet know with that team. So we'll see if something happens there. Anyway, Bloom, you're froze up. So we'll see if Bloom can unfreeze or not unfreeze. But I get what he's saying here in terms of who's going to be taking quarterbacks. Is this actually like a quarterback bowl between these two squads? Is that something that happens? Well, we will wait and see how that looks and how that works for these two teams. Now Bloom texts me because he's froze again. And New Orleans internet got him. So there you go. That's what happens here on this show. It is a live pre-recorded show, so we'll just continue going on here, of course, with me talking about New England and Tennessee. Yeah, okay. That's not really a game fantasy-wise. We're looking more forward the draft there instead. So we'll continue that conversation. We'll see if Sigmund can pop back in here or not as we continue on. Washington Commanders and New York Giants. And the Commanders, just please, Jane Daniels, stay healthy forever and ever and ever. That's what you need to know. Brian Robinson. So Bloom text me again. Sorry. Sanders could end up in New Orleans. Yeah, maybe that is something he could do there. All right. Commanders and Giants. Again, love Jaden Daniels. Want him to stay healthy forever. Austin Eckler moves into what the heck flex realm, of course, and what he does behind or alongside Brian Robinson, who is an RB2 with upside there as well. Zach Ertz continues to get, if it's 10, 11 yards a catch like it is last week against the Bears, that's fantastic. But he's up for a 5 to 7 catch performance on a weekly basis as we continue that conversation about like tight ends that you need. Ertz, a little bit under the radar. If you're struggling at tight end, you should have already grabbed him and thrown him in your lineup. De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey are just dynasty players that you hold on to. Even, Noah Brown with the Hail Mary. He was on the other end of the Hail Mary, so you love that. It's Terry McLaurin. It's Jaden Daniels. It's Brian Robinson. Those are the players that you could look forward to and look to kind of continue to do what they do going forward on the Washington side. On the Giants side, things can get a little ugly. Now we're hoping Tyrone Tracy gets out of the concussion protocol. He is in the concussion protocol, and that's why after the game on Monday, he couldn't answer questions. Anytime a player goes either into the protocol or on IR, they're not allowed to talk to the media. So we'll put a pin in that because he was out flipping, standing 145 yards and a touchdown this last time out against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why you love it. And Sigmund rejoins us again.
Yeah.
Hi, Sigmund. I'm already on to the Commanders and the Giants now, but how are you?
I'm good. Seriously, I'm not making this up. That whole thing because I'm in the tank for New Orleans. I'm wearing my Pelicans jersey. The next team I was going to say when the New Orleans internet flushed me into the void was
Yeah.
the next team is the Saints. The next team in the draft order is the Saints. Would Sanders come to New Orleans?
No, because the internet wouldn't allow him to post
Ah!
Instagram videos. Anyway, I did a Commanders thing,
Yeah, yeah,
basically Bloom, and then I'm on to the Giants right now.
yeah.
And if you disagree with me on the
Sure,
Commanders, I just said, Jaden, stay healthy, please. Robinson's an RB2. Terry McLaurin, you plug and play every single week. Eckler's a what the heck
yes,
flex. Guys like De'Ami Brown or Noah Brown or Luke McCaffrey are more dynasty holds for me. But that's kind of the conversation around that team. Zach Ertz, of course, doing
sure.
wonderful work there as well. Now on to the Giants, and since you're back, I'll let
Yeah.
you take over.
Is this Daniel Jones' last stand with the injury guarantee looming over the situation? We'll see. He's the starter for now. Tyron Tracy, look, wow. Yeah. David Johnson comparisons. Maybe not that. When Lance Zierlein says, hey, fantasy football players, I think he said that like once ever, and it was for Tyron Tracy. Yeah. He's got a concussion, though, so we may not see him. So Devin Singletary with heck flex. Malik Neighbors, but Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson can play. So maybe we're not going to have that sky high ceiling for Malik Neighbors. But in a good pass offense, even though it's one that can't finish drives because of Daniel Jones, yeah, when you don't have a quarterback, maybe that's where Shadur Sanders will end up. And by the way, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, remember that debate? Cease. I think that debate is over.
Yeah, that debate is done and done. Final game we're going to talk about. Internet, please hold on. It is the New Orleans Saints against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers side is a little more interesting with a subtraction and an addition, potentially. But let's talk about the Saints and what they do there as they kind of stumble and struggle through the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I don't know if we'll ever see another season where the first two games are so promising and then fire Dennis Allen. I mean, that's maybe all the collective wishes of players and Saints fans to fire Dennis Allen overcome what they did for the first 2 weeks. Chris Olave is back. Taysom Hill's back. Alvin Kamara is back. Watch Kendrick Miller, if Kamara wears down. But if they can't beat the Panthers, really, Gail Benson doesn't seem like the type to fire someone in the middle of the season. But if you lose to the Panthers, maybe. You never know.
Yeah, you never do know. Deontay Johnson gone. So let's talk about that as he goes to Baltimore. We'll talk about that game in part two. As Baltimore plays Denver. It is a Broncos show. And then I'm just studying. I'm trying to find out. Jonathan Brooks was supposed to be back this week, or at least that was kind of the early
That's the
slight.
end of the window. Yeah.
More of a dynasty, like observing type of thing. Where Brooks is incredibly talented, and it's not all bad. It's mostly bad, but it's not
Yeah.
all bad for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. Is it Bryce Young? Did he do enough against the Broncos? First to throw a touchdown pass against the Broncos. Is that right? This year, something like that. So Andy Dalton, it house his thumb. You're gonna let Bryce Young play anyway. Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette, but here comes Adam Thielen. So if it's Bryce Young, are you gonna trust anybody? Saints defense, sometimes very generous, sometimes very tough. Another week of Chuba Hubbard, and now you have the Panthers leaving open the possibility that maybe Brooks just isn't going to play this year, which it's rational that it's on the table. Why? I mean, what is there to gain? I mean, I guess he might be champing at the bit to get out there and play, but let him play. And the last thing, since you brought up Deontay Johnson, Cease, I just want to hand it back to you like this, okay? Deontay Johnson got traded for a pick swap. Baltimore got Carolina 6, and Carolina got Baltimore's 5th. That's going to be about 15 picks, okay? And Carolina is eating 3 million of the 3.5 million, 3.6 million left on Deontay Johnson's contract. This is more like the Brock Osweiler trade than the other trades we see at the deadline. And do you want to just hint for the people? Because the Panthers put it out there that Deontay Johnson's available, and
Yeah.
they basically ate salary to get a negligible nothing draft bump for him. Do you want to just at least like hint for the people why that
Well,
happened?
for what I know from Pittsburgh and Carolina is they don't like his effort.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't want him.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
there you go.
I mean, if people just see fantasy stats and they see, separation scores and stuff like that, teams care about things other than that. And they
Mhm.
should.
Yes, they should. We care about you all, so make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He is Sigmund Bloom. Follow him on Twitter X at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show's at the Audible. We'll be back with part 2 tomorrow. Special Halloween edition. Scary. We are the Audible. Stay tuned and stay frosty.